Hello class, this is our third context lesson, and today we're going to talk about the Indian Arts and Crafts Act. So just to review again, our content was birth and infancy, and you learned about that stage, and also why it was so important to take care of babies and keep them alive, what it was like in the 1800s. We talked about Native Americans, and dream catchers is what we are making, and you learned about their purposes as well as how to create them. Our time period is 1850 to 1900, which was a large part of the Western expansion, and our area we're talking about are the Northwest Plain states, so South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, Nebraska, parts of Oklahoma, Texas, Colorado. The purpose for dream catchers is spiritual protection of the dreamer. It was a very serious thing. It was not just for decoration. And your process is weaving. It's a specific type of weaving known as netting. So our essential questions for today, we're going to first review assimilation and appropriation. We're going to explore the Indian Art and Craft Act and why it's needed, how it impacts artists and craftspeople, and what an Indian market is. So to review, assimilation is when a craft is used by another culture, but they understand the meaning. There's a gradual change to it. If you think back to our very first lessons, we use Santa Claus as an example, how he gradually changed from St. Nicholas, who was a Middle Eastern Catholic saint, to our Santa Claus that we know now, who is kind of a chubby old guy who likes to eat cookies. Yep. Dream catchers were assimilated across the tribes and became a symbol of unity with the spirit world and with each other. The idea of spider, remember from the Dreamcatcher story, was present in many tribes but in different forms, and that was a commonality, and they recognized that, and then they recognized the different ways the dream catchers were made. They still are kind of the same thing, the same purpose, and each tribe kind of created their own version of it. But that's assimilation. They understood the base, the real meaning of it, the purpose of it, and that's what they were made and used for. Appropriation is when a craft is made by another culture and they don't understand the meaning or traditions. They're just made because, oh, yay, this is cool, we're going to make it. Or they're popular. And for an example, dream catchers that are made in China and sold for car air fresheners, like the one you see on the right, which is desert flower scented and has this kind of a thing in the middle that doesn't go with dream catchers, etc. We are in between these two because it's not part of our authentic culture. You are still not appropriating these dream catchers because I have taught you what they mean and why they're important. Okay, so it's more of assimilation than appropriation. So the Indian Art and Craft Act of 1990, or IACA abbreviation, and that is a federal law that protects the right of Native American artists, which is super important. So this includes only items made by Native Americans can be labeled as authentic Native American or by tribal names. Art and craft that are traditional Native American things, like the Dreamcatcher, cannot be sold in certain places by non-Native people. Artifacts cannot be removed from graves or archaeological sites and sold, so you can't go find an Indian mound and dig up some pottery and sell it. And there are a lot more things, but these are the top points. And if you look over here on the poster, you see this little logo up there. that's present a lot on authentic art or sites that sell authentic art. Not always, but pretty much. And then there is also hotlines to call if somebody is selling some fake art. The reason why this was needed, there's a couple reasons. The first one is the preservation of their culture, because in the past, Native American grave sites and archaeological sites, which are things like burial mounds, reservations, etc., were dug up and items were taken to be sold. So these were culturally valuable items and personal items that should not be looted and disrespected. So things that would be buried when somebody died in one of the burial mounds, or things that would be just, left behind in a pueblo or something. It would be very similar to somebody coming along and digging up your aunt's grave because they wanted to find something and they find her ring and they think it's cool, so they're going to take that. Okay, it's not okay. And then that's not enough. They also find the remains, and they would take those as well, including skeletons. And on the right here, you see one of the collections of a guy from California who was notorious for this, and he would go out into the deserts and the areas and just dig around and then bring things back. And this was a little building behind his house that he made. And you can see here that along with the pottery shards, and there are arrowheads and things and rugs and whatnot, but there are also decorative arrangements of skeletons, and they're not even respectably all put together. They're just kind of made into art. It's interesting looking, I'm not going to lie. It looks like there's a place in Europe that, at the Black Death, a church that's entirely made out of skeletons, and it looks a lot like that. But when you look closer, you have your skulls here, and then you have these miscellaneous leg bones everywhere, used as braces to prop up the shelves, and you might have some vertebrae over here, and a pelvis up here, and all of that. It's also needed to protect Native American artists. So both traditional and fine arts and crafts are main sources of income on the reservations today. And that's a lot of the reservations. It depend upon, kind of the art and craft thing, as well as there are other ways of making income, like the casinos, or like the natural resources, or hunting, not meaning like they go out and hunt, but they host hunters and, take them on the hunting tours to catch the cool animals. Anyway, so what happens though is, because of tourists and things, Native American art is copied and it's sold really cheap and sold as authentic. And that decreases the value of the real thing, because the people want to buy the cheap stuff instead of paying a lot of money. And that ends up creating a lot of economic stress for the community. And it started endangering the art, because if you can't make money at something and you still need money, you're going to find another way to make money. And if you can't sell the art and crafts that you make for what they're worth, then you go and start working at Walmart or something, because you still need money. And then because the art was appropriated, the design and meaning and process were compromised and kind of mashed together into a popular imagination of what Native American art should look like, instead of being the authentic thing. So an example here, at the top are two fake vases that are sold as Indian. And a few clues to them being fake right away is the high shine and the really bright colors, and the kind of that combination of a little bit of geometric design with some random kind of desert looking stuff, you know. And then at the bottom is a piece of authentic pottery, and there's many, many different styles of Native American authentic pottery. But some of the things that you look for is authentic pottery. If it's shiny, it's been burnished. It's not the same as having that high gloss shine on it. And like when you see here on the red part, you can see like brush marks, applications. Their colors that they use tend to be black, white, red, and yellow. And it's not paint or glaze. It's done with different colors of clay that's on it, which is then fired into the pot or by controlling the temperatures of the fire. It has a very different look and feel to it than the fake stuff. But this is a whole lot cheaper than this. So the impact on artists, craftsmen, and museums, etc. When this act was passed, museums had to return artifacts and remains to the tribes. The tribes can now choose, and often do choose, to lend artifacts to museums for display and study. Artists and craftspeople in certain areas, like New Mexico, only Native Americans can sell art created with certain processes, designs, symbols, and types. So, for example, when I live in New Mexico in the summertime, I can't make and sell a dream catcher. Okay, that's like not okay to do. In the art that I make, I can't use Native American symbols like those designs on the pottery and apply that to what I'm making. That's not okay because I'm not a Native American. It's the responsibility of both the gallery owner and the artist to follow those rules, and there are serious fines and losses of business license if the rules are broken. And over here you can see a pamphlet that tells a little bit more about the act and what is considered to be an Indian and a certified artisan and a product in the labor tribe, etc. And you can also see an idea of the fines. If the total sale is less than $1,000, the fine is up to $25,000, imprisonment for a year or both, and the businesses face a fine up to $100,000, and on from there. So where do you find Indian art? At the Indian markets. They are large craft fairs that occur every year. They are a lot more common in the West than they are here. And authentic crafts are sold because people just can't set up and claim that, oh, I'm an Indian, this is my art, and sell it and be authentic. It has to go through a juried process. So before the market itself opens, there's a pre-sale, and in the pre-sale, the very expensive items that are for sale are brought by collectors and museums. So we're talking items that might cost several $1,000s. Gallery owners at that time could also bid to sell the art in their store. So they would start bidding on an artist, and the gallery that would pay the artist the most to sell the art in their store, the artist would work with them for that year. What that means is not that that's all the money the artist gets. No. That's what the gallery pays the artist so they can sell their art there. The artist still gets money from the art they sell as well. And then during the open market, people can purchase directly from the artists. So this is the Summer Indian Market in Santa Fe in New Mexico. That's the governor's palace. And there's tents, and it goes all around the square, and everywhere is huge and has vendors on both sides. They have 2 other markets there in the summer as well. One is the Spanish market, which is similar, but only Hispanic art is sold. And then the other is the international crafts market, which brings craftspeople from all over the world to sell. And I've been to those two, but the Indian market always falls when we're just starting back to school, so I haven't been there yet. However, they also have a weekly Indian market event. So this happens on market days, which are Wednesdays and Saturdays. And along the Palace of the Governors, under the porch set up, are sellers that have their spaces along the wall, and you can see they're selling weavings and jewelry, and they sell pottery and all sorts of things. But you can't just get a space. In order to have a space, you have to be juried. That means that you're not only a tribal member, but your art is of very high quality. And the spaces are rare, and once you have a space and you're in as long as you show up every time and you pay your rent for your space. If you do not show up more than twice, then you lose your space. Some spaces have been handed down through generations. This has gone on since Santa Fe was settled. This is where the Indian market has been. It didn't always have the same rules. These are modern rules. And you can see it's not fancy. The people sit on, there's like a little ledge here, or they can have their chair, and then they just put things on a rug in front of them. But they're not inexpensive things. Okay, so your assignment is virtual shopping. You need your Chromebook for this, and you are going to go virtual shopping on the internet. And you need to find two examples. One is a fake Indian craft, and one is an authentic Indian craft. You're going to create a slide for each with the image of the craft on one side, and on the other side, just explain briefly why you think it's real or fake. So you're going to have 2 slides total. Both have an image and your explanation on it. And I want you to use your eyes and your research skills and what you have learned. And what I've shown you. Okay? So a big hint though, when you are Googling, look for Native American, not Indian, because Indian, if you Google that in, a lot of times it'll show Indian, and you'll be on the wrong side of the world. And I'll edit that in here. So if you look over on the right and you see that lovely wolf thing, is it real or is it fake? It's being sold as an Indian totem animal. What do you think? I'll give you a hint. It's fake. How can you tell it's fake? Well, it's manufactured. But beyond that, certain things like the native in the headdress, the headdresses are very important special items. They're not just smacked on random objects. And likewise, the symbols of the hands and the stripes and those types of things all have meaning in the appropriate context. Here they're being used incorrectly and just decoratively, and wolves aren't blue. Yep. Sometimes there's, fake Native American art that looks kind of cool, but that doesn't mean it's real. And I want you to be able to know the difference. Okay? So, go shopping. Don't spend money. Just shop for pictures. All right.